Hey everybody, this is Vicki Davis and my amazing ninth grade students, one half of them, and we're interviewing Andrew Cohen, the CEO of Brainscape today. And my students have some questions about technology startups and lots of other questions that they're going to pose with Andrew. So Andrew, thank you for being with us today.
It's great to be here. Thank you, Vicki.
My name's Levy. We just want to welcome you today. This is our half of the ninth grade computer fundamentals class, and we're just going to ask you some questions about where this idea came from.
Sure. Brainscape actually started as a personal project of mine back in my old career of international development and finance. I was working in Panama on a project with the World Bank, and I had some very high-profile jobs there that required my Spanish to be really good. And I had done Spanish in high school, Spanish minor in college. I had studied abroad in Costa Rica. I had used Rosetta Stone, and I still felt like my Spanish wasn't good enough. So I created a program in Microsoft Excel. That's what I knew how to use well in my old finance and economics career. And that program in Excel was just so effective for me, and I realized that it could be effective for so many aspects that I decided to change my whole career path and get my master's degree in education technology at Columbia University here in New York. And I made Brainscape the focus of my entire degree. I learned more the brain science behind why this system of repetition really helps us learn and retain information more easily. I raised some money from investors and have turned it into a company since then.
Hi, I'm Nathan Hilliard. How did you start?
Sure. So as Brainscape was a personal project, at university at that point, for my master's degree, I created a prototype in Java, the first language that I learned, and started testing Brainscape in small experimental groups. So in one test, we had a control group that used regular flashcards to memorize national birds. That was the topic. So, America would be the bald eagle, and then there was 50 other countries. And then half of the group used the prototype of Brainscape to study, and then they took a post-test. And the scores of the students who used Brainscape to study for 30 minutes were twice as high as who used regular flashcards. So we knew that there was something there, and took those results to some investors who usually invest in education technology companies, one of whom was the founder of a company called the Princeton Review. Some of you guys might know it. Competitor with Kaplan, they T-Prep, and with those investment dollars, we were able to start hiring more software engineers and build a program from it.
Hey, my name's Mitt.
Hey guys.
How did you motivate yourself to get started?
I missed that. I think the connection was kind of fading.
How did you motivate yourself to get started?
How to motivate myself. I think when you have that you're creating that solves a problem that you personally have, it's so much more motivating than just creating something because you think other people are going to like it. Where I think we're all selfish to study more efficiently, whether I was memorizing, foreign language verb conjugations to help me speak better, or whether I was learning more about, my national capitals and like I should know to be a smarter person in the business world and real world. And so I wanted the thing possible, and that motivated me to recruit the right people and keep making the product as good as I think it can be. And I think we still have a long way to go.
I'm just letting them know I'm going to tweet it out. We'll see if Twitter makes a difference on how many viewers they get now that I know that we have a flow going. So,
Great.
guys, y'all are going to have to hand the mic off to each other and make sure you turn it off, okay? Let me step in front here.
Hi, I'm Brent, and I would like to know, how does it feel to be your own boss?
It's both exciting, exhausting, and sometimes lonely. Obviously, it's exciting to know that the success of your company is very dependent on your efforts, but you always have to feel you're a few steps ahead of everybody, because if everybody on your team is caught up and then they're looking to you for guidance, what should we work on now? And if you don't have a organized plan for what you think should be next for the company, then you're gonna be behind. So typically I have meetings all day to make sure that the current operations are working well. But to get ahead of everybody and do all the planning, that means I have to work nights and weekends, and so it can get exhausting. And the ups are great. We have a great day, a lot of new downloads when an awesome teacher named Vicki Davis tweets about us, 80,000 followers. That's a great day. And then maybe the next day, we get a really bad review on iTunes. There's some bug that causes crash. One of our investors is mad about something, and so the lows are really low. Emotional roller coaster when you run your own company. And if you're just working with this company, sure, you have good days and bad days, but I think the extremes are just not as big emotionally.
I'm Chandler. Was it hard? Who decided to hire?
Yeah, one of the hardest positions to hire for nowadays is for software developers. There is so much demand for technical talent, and good engineers coming out of colleges are sometimes making $80,000 a year, $100,000 a year, and 5 years experience engineers can be making almost $200,000 because there's so few great talented people and there's so much demand. So you just have to really hustle to find the right people, and the best people usually aren't the types of people who are looking at job boards. So I could maybe post a position on LinkedIn or Monster.com or anywhere else, and some people are going to apply. People are already working somewhere. They're working at Facebook, they're working at some other startup, and I have to coach them. I have to go convince them why they should come have coffee with me or talk to me, why Brainscape is the next big thing in education, and why they leave their nice stable job and work for us. And so that's really hard. And picking the person who's going to be an early employee, that person is going to help company culture and the other people that you hire from then. So it's a big decision, and you have to really hustle hard to bring the right people on board.
I'm Luke, and my question is, I think I did. Did you ever have someone tell you that your idea would fail?
That it wouldn't work?
Yes.
All the time. Early on, I had investors say, okay, how big can the flashcard market really be, right? It's just flashcards. How big can this company go? Or, there's other companies that have web and mobile flashcard products. How do you think you're going to beat them? I don't believe in you. Or you've never started a company before. You've never been a CEO of a company before. Why should I invest money in you? And recruiting employees. Why should I at some great technology company to work for somebody who's an they have to associate their entire professional reputation with me, who had a background in like international government and politics, but not in startups. And so it's a risk for everybody, and you're going to get rejected 9 times out of 10, and that's part of the emotional roller coaster and part of what helps you get out of bed in the morning is just that motivation, knowing you're creating a product that people want, and you just have to sell harder and believe in it harder, and each success kind of builds on itself. So the doubters start to realize that maybe you were right.
Did you? Hey, I'm Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
Did you fail the first time you tried to make this site?
Yeah, the Brainscape that you see now is like the third version that we had. The previous versions, either had looking designs, or maybe were not as easy or intuitive to use. Sometimes what is intuitive, because we've been looking at the product all the time, we think, oh, of course the user is going to understand what button lets them create a subject or create a deck. What is not always intuitive to a person who hasn't seen it before. And we have to make software that is accessible to people of all ages, whether it's middle school or whether it's medical students and law students and companies. So be really simple. And one big lesson that we've learned in redoing the website a few times is creating something simple is really hard. Writing a one-page paper that's really good is harder than writing a 5-page paper or a 10-page paper, as I'm sure you guys have seen. Creating simplicity is really hard. Apple is just a brilliant company because they take something that's so complicated, the technology, and they make it so simple with one button. And so that's what we're trying to go for. And I think this version of the website is better, and we have a very long list of improvements that we hope to keep making.
Hey, I'm Johnson.
Hey, Johnson.
Like when you were talking about like when you had on iTunes like a virus or a bug, how did you like get through that? Like how did you fix that?
We have a bug tracking system that we use. It's a software program that's called Redmine. And anytime a user reports a bug or we hear a bug, we input it into this system. So it says, okay, here's a bug. It's on the iPhone app or it's on the website. And we write a description of here's how to replicate it. Assign it to one of our software developers. And so the software developer, who also uses, would get a little notification and it says, Jeff, this bug has been assigned to you. This is an urgent bug, or this is a medium priority bug or a low bug. So he could use that to help determine when he should work on it. Should it be today, tomorrow, is it immediate? And should we release the fix immediately, or should we wait till next week when we release a bunch of fixes at once? So it's a constant of different bugs that are happening, and some of them are more catastrophic than others. And so, guys. These are great, by the way, and can I say I grew up in Georgia myself. I grew up in Marietta. I've lost some of the accent, but it's refreshing to hear the great Southern accents from some of you guys.
Well, we're deep south, almost to Tallahassee, almost out of the state, actually. Okay,
Nice.
send it over to Nick now. Go ahead and talk us started.
Hi, I'm Nicholas. I'm just wondering, what kind of computer and software do you have?
All on Macs here at Brainscape. So here in the Brainscape office, we got big iMac. This is what I'm looking at right now. Everybody has a Mac laptop, MacBook Air, and Apple devices. We know that the world is largely moving Android, or at least that Android now has more users than iOS. And that's on our radar screen, and we want to make something that is 100% on the iOS system first before spreading ourselves thin. But for now, it makes sense for us to be an all Apple shop. Keeps everything more efficient. in the class? Do you guys use Apple or Windows machines?
We're Windows 8.1 touch screens,
Oh, cool.
and we just got our first 3D printer this week, and we do all kinds of cool stuff. But there's one thing I wanted to ask you for my question. Now, one thing I tell my students, which is something my dad told me. I started off in the business world, and I was trying to decide whether to go into the regular telephone business or the cell phone business. And this was back in the early 90s, and obviously the cell phone ended up being the right way to go, and that was the way I went. But he said to me, if everybody thinks it's a good idea, you're too late. So when you're making decisions about technology, if everybody thinks it's a great idea, you're too late. How would that fit with your decision to move into this?
Yeah, your dad was totally right about that. There are so many smart people in the world, many of whom are going to the richest, smartest universities. They're at MIT, they're at Stanford, and they're talking about smart ideas at coffee shops 10 times more often than we probably are. And so if it's a good idea, they've probably thought about it, or if it's an obvious idea, they've probably thought about it. And the ideas that are not obvious take a long time to iterate towards obviousness or goodness. And so one of the big pieces of advice that I learned is, early, if you have a business idea and you think, oh, I probably shouldn't tell anybody because they'll probably steal it. Don't worry about that, because they'll probably think your idea is stupid. And the chance of them dropping everything that they're passionate about so they could work on your passion is very low. In fact, if they know that you're passionate about it and they also are, they probably would want to work with you. So if you have an idea that's not obvious, tell everybody. Have them tell you why it's a stupid idea. Get practice pitching that idea and making it simpler and simpler and simpler until you can start acting a team and investors if necessary, and making that idea a reality.
Are there any more questions, guys, that you want to answer while we're still on the recording that you think people want to know? Anything you're dying to know? We're going to do that off recording. We've got some feedback for you, but we're going to do that off recording. Any other big questions about him or what he's done or any of that? Come on up, Johnson. We're off our script now. So they brainstormed and created a Google Doc of all their questions and kind of synthesized them, decided who was going to ask what, and now Johnson has one of his own.
Going rogue.
Did you go to college, or where did you go to college?
I did. I actually went to Georgia. Go Dogs. I was in economics and finance. I was a huge football fan. I was involved in a business fraternity, and my first job right out of college was in Washington, D.C. at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So I was an economics major, and I was actually in D.C. for a couple of years before changing paths.
So you learned, do you actually program, Andrew?
My software developers don't let me touch code anymore because I'll probably break it. But there was a time that I did program. I wish, if I could go back in time to 9th grade and tell myself one major piece of advice, it would be learn technology and get good at it. It's not for nerds, it's the future, and the people that know technology are going to kick the butts of the people who don't. So invest early. You guys are at the right time.
I totally, absolutely agree with that, of course. But I went to that other school in Atlanta, but you know which one. Yeah, we got a game coming up after Thanksgiving, but I don't know. We've won 4 games. My team has, but they haven't been very pretty wins lately. Anyway, anybody else have anything they want to say? Well, this has been awesome. We're going to go off recording now. The kids have been playing Brainscape and using it. They love it. I've been testing it with my 8th graders, and I had some 8th graders who tested it last week. their grades in something called Wordly Wise jumped by 20 points in 1 week. So it's definitely something that really does help, and very awesome strategy. So we're going to give you feedback, but we want to go off the record for that. But those of you who have been listening, we're dialing in from Westwood Schools here in Camilla with my friend Andrew Cohen, who is CEO of Brainscape. And part of what we teach here at Westwood is we like to take kids to what we call the bleeding edge of technology, which is to, if you're surrounded by the best, you'll be the best. And part of my own personal goal with being on Twitter and being on all the places where I share and building my own PLN is that I can connect students with the world, and they can connect and collaborate like they are today. So it's been great to have you on. Andrew, this has been awesome. Y'all say thank you. And you and I aren't hanging up. We're just going to stop the broadcast. Thanks to our viewers who've been watching. We've had quite a few in and out. And this will be on the Cool Cat Teacher video YouTube channel. You can catch that and replay the beginning, which has been great.
Thank you.